Hello, beautiful humans. First off, I'm coming from my hometown in southern New Jersey. I'm here for a quick visit to enjoy some time with my friends and some fun shenanigans with my family as well. Now, speaking of family, have you ever thought that there could be some hidden secrets in your family's past causing the underlying sense of that overwhelm or fear that you might be experiencing in your present life? I'm your host, Amie Barsky, and this week on the I Come First podcast, we are diving into the fascinating world where psychology meets ancestry. Our guest, Lorena Martinez, is a brilliant clinical psychologist, and she shares the code on how your family's past could be shaping your present life. She gives such beautiful examples to understand your family roots and how they can be the key to putting yourself first without the guilt trip. Yes, you heard me right, without the guilt trip. Seriously, have you ever wondered why it's so hard sometimes to prioritize yourself? Or maybe why you keep repeating the same patterns over and over and over again? Well, get ready for some eye-opening insights that'll have you looking at your family tree in a whole new light. This episode is all about breaking free from those old habits. This is about tuning into your inner wisdom so that you can finally put yourself at the top of your to-do list. So trust me, this is one family reunion that you will not want to miss. All right. We have Lorena Martinez here today, and I am so excited that you're joining us on the I Come First podcast. Welcome to this beautiful conversation that I'm so excited to have with you. And will you please do a little intro and a little bit about your history and how you got to where you are as short as possible so we can dive into the yummy questions we have for you.
Oh, yes. The soundbite is I was trained as a life coach first in Colombia after having a beautiful experience in London. Went back to Colombia, got trained as a life coach, corporate coach, did that, then realized that there was something deeper that I could go deeper. And so I went and did my clinical psychology degree back in Colombia. And then I moved to United States. And when I moved to United States, I couldn't practice right away as a clinical psychologist. So I started to go really deep into my own practices that I have done back in my country for my own healing, which were all spiritual practice. And so in that moment where I couldn't practice in the United States, I was like, what can I do to still be of service and to still be connected with purpose?
Yeah.
So I started doing different workshops and circles in San Diego, California, different yoga spaces, and even a beautiful cacao place. I started doing circles and workshops that, in my mind, what I was trying to do was to bridge those two together.
I
And
love
so,
that. And that's actually where we met. We met at a beautiful women's circle networking opportunity that was so beautiful. And you offered such a powerful gift when you made the salts, the bath salts for everybody. And it was such a communal experience where we all put intentions in. And I after that night, I said, I have to meet this woman. I have to meet this woman. Who is this woman? She's just pure magic. And so I feel like, we've connected, and ever since then I was like, "Oh man, I've got this incredible woman in my circle of beautiful sisters." So thank you so much for stepping outside of perhaps what could have been a restriction of like, "Oh, I can't practice what I'm usually doing in Colombia here yet. So let me keep moving towards my purpose and fulfilling my heart and being of service." And so thank you for that experience.
yes, it's been truly magical. It's been truly magical to understand that you don't have to necessarily follow the rules in the right way, right? Like follow the structure.
Absolutely. Well, getting to know you and how you are so powerful in the communities in San Diego and where you are is also in Texas, and talking about the bridge between spirituality and science. Let's jump into generational trauma. This is something that I personally have been on a path for my mother, for my relationship with her, for my grandmother, my relationship with her before both of them have passed away. And how might the emotional baggage from our family past, our history, affect a woman's ability to prioritize herself today?
Well, there is like two ways.
Okay.
And what is magical is the two ways if you find like the explanation. So let's just start with the generational trauma. So the way I do ancestral healing is based on a practice created by Bert Hellinger called family constellation. So if you've never heard of that, it's healing that generational trauma. So Bert Hellinger did this through something called psychodrama, which is technique that is widely used in psychology. But then there was this other, or there is still this scientist called Rupert Sheldrake. And he started researching why the schools of fish would swim together. So, like, in such a coordination, and they don't have like signs like we turning to the right, we turning to the left. They're just, there's something higher that connects them into what they're going to do as a group.
Okay.
And that's called the quantum field.
Wow.
So the physicist was very fascinated by this, and the same thing with flocks of birds. So he started researching first what was that keep them together, and knowing what they had to do without, again, science or like we turn into the right to the left, like what was that. And that was explained by quantum physics. So there is this field that we generate independently, but also when we connect with others, this field connect to the other person. And that's why sometimes we're able to, if you walk into a room, you kind of feel the
Absolutely.
temperature emotionally in the room. Or if you meet your friend and your friend is not feeling super happy, maybe she's low, you can feel it. So that's your quantum field coming together and exchanging information. So
what a great
these
explanation. I love how simply and digestible that is for someone like myself who's not super woo and learning and growing and willing to understand the deeper levels of ancestral healing or generational trauma. Wow, thank you for that. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Don't worry. So then Rupert Sheldrake was like, okay, he went deeper and he wanted to understand how the field that connects us can affect you and like in your generation. And so he did a research with mice. So he took a couple, father and mother, and he exposed them to a traumatic event. In this case was a very loud sound. So before, that's conditioning. So before, he would bring a cherry blossom for the mice to smell, and right after he would just bang something really hard, and they would get scared, and their blood pressure would go up and their heartbeat would go up. Anyway, then these couple of mice had the first generation, the second generation of babies. So they were grandparents, and then they had more. They went, I think, all the way to the seventh or eighth. He would test with every generation, and he found that just by exposing them to the smell of the cherry blossom, they would freak out. So the traumatic event was taken out. It was just for the parents, the loud sound.
Right.
But then every generation that came after, just by being exposed to the cherry blossom smell, would freak out all the way to the seventh and the eighth generation. So they never experienced it. So
all because of the cherry blossom scent
and the connection with the loud sound.
Wow.
That experienced the parents. So the parents experience the scent, and right after the scent, the very traumatic sound, very loud sound. So the next generations, just by feeling the scent of the cherry blossom, react in the fight or flight way.
Right.
So the parents knew that when cherry blossom was around, something really loud was going to happen. So the brain evolves in this way where it's like, oh, cherry blossom. It's just something awful happens after cherry blossom smell. So the brain processes that. And then that becomes the expression of your DNA, epigenetics. Your DNA express that. So the next generation can be, quote unquote, safe. But safe not always means healthy.
Right.
If translate that to human behavior.
Right.
What we have been doing is what has kept us alive as a clan, as a tribe, as a lineage. Whether it's functional or dysfunctional, we're here. So we're going to keep doing it, whatever it is.
So what I'm hearing is if my mother and her mother and her mother, or let's say my great-grandmother experienced something traumatic, something in her body, and that got carried down to my grandmother, my mother, that may have gotten passed down to me. And because of that safety mechanism that's within ourselves, unconsciously most of the time, that might be actually holding us back and preventing us from prioritizing ourselves today because something in there says, no, that's not how it goes. Like you're supposed to, let's say, people please or be the good girl or do the right thing in order to get love or feel like you belong with a group or with your family dynamics. Is that accurate, you think?
Exactly,
Okay.
because the other way of transmission is through behavior.
Okay.
So your grandmother, so how your great grandmother was always people pleasing and putting everyone else first and, feeding everybody. And maybe perhaps after feeding herself and getting everyone ready and getting everyone bathed and in bed. And she was always the last one, the last one, the last one.
Yeah.
So grandmother grows up seeing this dynamic. To belong in this clan, what we do is that we leave ourselves last and we don't prioritize our self-care or our self-love or our expression. Like women in our family, we don't say what we feel.
Right.
We keep it inside because it's better because, we have to be strong women. We don't have to be complaining or whatever it is in your clan, those get passed.
Exactly. Like in my family dynamics, you couldn't express yourself emotionally. So, and I see it now, but I didn't see it then. In my upbringing, I was a very sensitive child and I was crying a lot. Like, apparently, according to my mom, I was the worst baby ever. Like, all I did was cry. I was very, I don't just, things were just very, they hit me hard, I guess. And I was crying a lot. And I would hear the words, "Amie, why are you crying? What's wrong with you?" Like, and I started to think something was actually wrong with me. And if I look back now and I see how the dynamics of my grandmother and my mother and their relationship and how there was hardly any self-expression, any expression of emotions or how you were feeling, or maybe asking for what you need, anything like that it was a no. Like you just didn't do it. And so that totally makes sense to me, as I started to learn and heal my own limiting beliefs of why that got passed down into my epigenetics, my language of love, and just the way I behaved with partnerships specifically, romantics partners. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, to ask for what I needed in my partnerships, I was so afraid. I was so afraid because I was deemed too much, too sensitive, too intense.
I love that you say that because I feel like the women that you and I are, and the women probably listening to this, and the women that will come to the circles are the women that are finally allowing to feel what wasn't felt. And again, that could come across as like, you're too sensitive. You need to grow a thicker skin. The world is rough. Like, grow up. Like, no, it turns out that I've been carrying like generations of pain that might manifest like you really sensitive, but it can also manifest as disease, as cancer, as so many disease and disorders and autoimmune disease, especially in women, because all of this has never been expressed. All of this has never been spoken. So a lot of the times it's like, what do I need to heal? Like, what do you feel you need? You feel like you need to healthily punch a pillow? Let it out.
Such a fan of that.
There's so much pain behind before us as the women. There's so much pain, again, for all the things that have happened on earth to us. But also because of all the things that we were not allowed to express. So punching the pillow, going to an open space and healthily screaming from the top of your lungs, getting in touch with your body.
I love this. And it's so important. I, for one, know firsthand, and I didn't realize it until I was working with a particular coach around emotional well-being and rage and anger specifically. that I was carrying rage and anger from my grandmother and my mother because I was feeling this energy in my body, but it didn't feel like it was mine. And it was really wild because the more I started to recognize, like, okay, how can I understand what's mine and what's not mine, and do the healing with all of it in such a loving and compassionate way. My gosh, my body, my nervous system started to move through the world in such a different way, less hyper vigilant, less hyper like just on like alert all the time, and a lot more just feeling safe in my own skin. And it's so true. It's so true how that safe place to have a tantrum, to punch the pillows, to play some raging music and allow your emotions to simply be expressed is one of the key elements to not sending your body into the spiral of an autoimmune or dis-ease or inflammation and all of that. A lot of it comes from, like you mentioned, it comes from our emotional body. Our bodies have to communicate it some way because our bodies, our souls want to heal. That's what we desire, right? Our soul is evolving every single day. And in order to evolve in the most authentic way, we've got to let go of and start to move through the gunk that's clogging up, let's say the hose that's tied in some knots. If you tie a hose in knots a couple places, the water can't get through. And sometimes often we're taught, suppress the emotions, don't feel them. It's not safe to do that. Women don't do that. Like women don't get angry, just like women don't, like, I don't know, poop or fart, right? We're still human beings. And it's we start to unkink and unravel the knots in the hose and give ourselves a safe space and a freedom, a permission slip to say, oof, and put that baggage down. Let me tell you, everything changes when you start allowing that for yourself.
Yeah, and there's something really powerful here that I want maybe to like just understand how powerful is the ancestral, what we live through, how our ancestors are expressing through us
Mm.
too, is that when just think about this for me was such a click. When your grandmother was pregnant with your mother
Mhm.
at 4 months, when your mom was 4 months inside your grandma's body, the egg that will be you was there.
Wild, right? So wild. Just blows my
It's
mind. It's like sometimes I'm like,
I
"Whoa," like we keep learning so much about the human experience and how it all works, and it just blows my mind. I love it.
It's truly magical. It's that science
Yeah.
and that magic because it's just so powerful to understand
Yeah.
these concepts.
Mhm.
Like it gives you so much power back.
Right.
Like my grandma was a woman that never spoke for herself or was really angry.
Mm.
So, like you said, maybe this anger is not mine, but I'm gonna release it
Mhm.
to empower
Yeah.
myself, not to feel a victim of what happened to them. I'm gonna
Right.
reclaim my power,
Correct.
release, and I just think that's
Yeah.
magical.
So we kind of mentioned, my next question was about, effective methods and ways in which to start to tune into their gut feelings and start putting themselves first is obviously releasing some of the stuff we've been carrying. Are there any other ways that you support women around releasing those emotional, I'll use the word baggage or, history that's living inside of our bodies energetically?
So I kind of do like a combo. And I think that as holistic beings, we need that combo, right? So in family constellations, traditionally, you're not encouraged to do any somatic with that.
Oh, okay.
But like the women, when we are exploring the tree and when we are finding whatever it is that we're finding, I encourage them to do the somatic expression
Mm,
of whatever is coming up right now. Like, I don't know, my mom was never there for me. My mom was always like a child. I felt always like I was my mother's mom.
mhm.
Like, then press that frustration. Just say what you need to say. Write a letter, burn the letter
Yeah.
again. Make it so it goes through your body.
Mm,
And then the other part, which is harder, is when we need to. actually think them. The way we reclaim our power is when we take our place in our family tree. So when we have been our sister's mothers, our mother's mothers, or when we been not taking our role as the child, right? Where we've always like, this happened with mom, this happened with dad, this happened with my siblings. Like, what is happening? When we not in our place because of the family dysfunction, we can reclaim whatever is that life has for us. Health, abundance, empowerment, because we are just looking back to others. So the first thing to do in the sessions, but you can do it at home every day if you feel there's something that you need to work on there, is honor their journey for whatever it was, however messy or not messy, unholy, or whatever name or word you want to put in there. You are alive. You are here for a reason. So it's acknowledging that they heard you, somatic expression, but them saying, thank you for giving me life.
Yes. And I have to say, full transparency, that's hard work to do for myself. I'll speak for myself. That was hard for me to do for a good chunk of my healing process, because I was in such a place of victim mentality and pointing the finger and blaming and saying, it's your fault I'm like this. It's your fault my life's so messed up, all the things. And and this was the biggest shift in my relationship with my mom, when I finally decided to accept her for exactly who she is, not trying to change her or fix her or make her love me more or be the mom I always wanted, like any of that energy. I just surrendered to it. And I said, you know what? The place of acceptance of what is and what was is in my opinion, the quickest path to peace. And so when I decided that, then I was able to step into an element of forgiveness for the times that she wasn't there for me when I needed her, when I was 5 and 9 and a teenager and all the things. I went through all kinds of stages, right? To really unravel the energy that I was holding as that frustration or that rage that just was built up for decades in my body. And I'm so glad I got to do that, especially because, I have friends who their mom passed away and they didn't get an opportunity to clean some of that up. And it's not to say you can't do it afterwards. You certainly can. I've done ceremonies where I've actually spoken to my mom, who's already transitioned. She's passed away 4 years now. And so I just have to say, though, that was a big, massive shift energetically for me in my own body, in my relationship with my mom, to really just come to a place of acceptance, move into a space of forgiveness. So therefore we can both just love each other for exactly this present moment and be so grateful for the lives and this path that we've been walking together.
Yeah. And I would say that, yes, that's the hardest step, but it's the step that is going to get the farthest, right? I think that's something that really helps to step into that place of peace with what was or what happened, is to understand that our parents gave us what was given to them before us. So something that really helped me to do my journey with my parents, they're both alcoholic. One is functional, one is not functional, but they're both very codependent on alcohol. Something that really helped me was to step into the shoes of my dad when he was 4.
Oh, wow.
Taking that moment, just putting together all the stories I've heard from the siblings, from who my grandmother was, my grandfather was, and then coming down to how was my father feeling inside when he was 4. He was taken to brothels and bars at the age of 4 by his grandfather, and my grandmother never intervened. So it's like, of course he didn't even have it for himself.
Yeah. Well, he did what he knew, it sounds like. It's a learned behavior. This is what I know, therefore this is what I do.
Exactly. You eat the little that was given to you, and you maybe try a little a little bit more, but it was all you had. It's almost like I come to you asking you for a 20, but you only have a 5. It's like, I really only have a 5. I'm sorry.
Mm.
I just have a 5. You're like, I want 20, but I want more.
Wow. Well, what I really want to celebrate is I know you have a daughter and you are breaking the cycle. And we are cycle breakers, right? To
Yeah.
to recognize this family psychological and behavioral patterns that are not helping us actually stand in our power, own our worth, use our voices, ask for what we need, express ourselves fully. And this is the pattern that gets to be unpacked and really breaking that cycle so that it doesn't get passed from the next generation to the next generation to the next generation. And that is huge to start creating an outlet where it's guilt-free. Because I think there's also a distinction. I'd love to hear as a mom, your insight on the guilt-free aspect. Because I feel like I serve a lot of moms, a lot of my clients are mothers, and there's so much guilt when it comes to putting themselves first.
I think the mom guilt is so real. And especially for us conscious moms that want to break the cycle, that realize what was before and we want to do something different for our kids and for the world. I feel that's really genuine. I don't know if we could ever like not feel it, but what helps me is just to think that how I navigate those hard moments, how I navigate when I'm not feeling great because I'm processing some
Mm.
emotions or something that is happening around is hard, or when I'm overwhelmed and stressed. I always think like how I navigate that, going through that junk is going to inspire her for
Mm.
when she is in the future navigating those hard moments, those that junk. Like if she sees me always in my grateful, putting myself first, like I never like not put myself first, like she's not gonna know how to navigate when it's
Wow.
her time to be in those moments.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing I try to do, just to realize that she doesn't need a perfect mom, but she needs a human mom
Mhm.
that perhaps models better how to navigate. And then when it comes to self-care, I'm really assertive with her, kind and assertive. I'm like, my love, mama needs some self-care time. So mama can give you more.
Mm.
So mama needs to sleep a little bit longer today. Would you take a nap with me? Or
Mm.
I'm really craving something. Let's go get it. Recently there was a concert here. My favorite band, and it was like 2 hours and a half from where we were. And I really wanted to go. And I mean, she loves the band too, but she's like, it's so far, it's so long. It's like, my love, mommy really wants to see this band. I know you're going to enjoy it. But sometimes mama needs to get some joy,
Wow.
then I can be better for you. So I think that even if our kids are little, we can tell them, and that's again going to model
Yeah,
for
it's a
her.
permission slip to say it's okay to have needs and it's okay to meet your own needs and fill up your own cup. And in the same time, you're giving her a place to express herself and ask for what she needs because she's noticing that you're asking for what you need,
Yeah.
and it gets to be that dynamic of a safe place to emotionally emote, if there is sadness or rage or whatever's going on. And we also get to have this beautiful experience of speaking up for ourselves.
Yeah, and sometimes what I do is like, okay, we're gonna have a half just day. There's gonna be certain boundaries, but you're gonna also share with me
Oh,
what is really wanna do today,
I
and we're gonna do.
love it. I love that. It's like there's a movie out there. I think Jennifer Gardner's in it. It's called Yes Mom or something, and she gives basically a yes to the kids, and they just have a blast all day long doing really fun things. Of course, with boundaries in place of nothing, too crazy, but it's so important. It's so, so, so important. I love all of this. Well, my gosh, I feel like we covered a lot between the bridge of spirituality and psychology and somatics and emotional releasing and how we really get to close the gap between the science of it all because I feel that somatics is becoming a beautiful w- you know common phrase these days And a lot of people are curious, well, what is that? What is somatics? And soma means body. It means working with the energetics of the body, the storage of what you're holding on to, because our bodies are a living library of every experience. So if we're only doing the mental gymnastics and we're working up here all the time and we're not moving below the neck to see what's happening down below with the patterns and behaviors, the fight and flight, the freeze or fawn, and the generational things that are coming through, then we're just going to be stuck in a loop. And there's going to be kinks in the hose that really create a feeling of not fulfilled in relationship or career or just in your vibrancy, in your life, and your energy in general. So I'm really just this was a powerful conversation. I'm so glad you took time out of your busy day, because I know your little one takes, she's a top priority because she gets to be, because you're generational, right? You're breaking the generations of being there for your daughter. And I just cheers to you. I love that.
I love that. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's not a lot of people is talking about that we carry in our body
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
than just our story.
It's so true. And when I have clients that are doing the blame game like I did, my mom did this, and I go, so it's your mom's fault and your mom's fault and her mom's fault and her mom's fault. Like it's just, we could go down the line. Oh my gosh. It's so good though, because we have this information, and with information and awareness, then we can make different choices in our lives. And that is the game. It's practicing that pivot. So, speaking of pivot, I'm going to wrap it up because I know you got to get back to your little one. Where can people find you, first and foremost? Where can people find your beautiful energy in the world? What's the best place?
The best way, if you want to keep updated with all the things happening, will be Instagram
Right.
and the webpage if you're curious about like the sessions that I offer. And
Absolutely.
there's like really cool things
Perfect.
there.
I love that. And then will you please share with us one of your daily I Come First practices that fills your cup up so that you can give from a place of love and overflow to your family and loved ones?
So that is when everyone goes work or school. I do magnetotherapy on myself. So I put magnets
Ooh.
along my body to like get everything moving and get the organs all happy. But then I put a meditation where I created for myself. And
Mm.
it starts by giving thanks to my ancestors, giving back whatever is not mine. But then it continues with me telling myself all the things I am already that I
Mm.
want to manifest, but I tell them in present tense, like I am abundant, I am wealth, I'm health, all the things. And I listen to that for about 40 minutes.
Mm.
And when I like come back from my meditation, I literally feel like a new person. It's just so empowering. I feel like I'm addressing different levels of who I am,
Mm.
like my body, my mind, yeah. And I at the beginning I didn't do it as often, but then I was like, this is unnegotiable.
Yeah.
And now I'm so glad because it definitely gives me the capacity to give more.
Yes, and I feel that it's so important to set some non-negotiables so that, because I know so many people, "I don't have time, Amy, I don't have time." So many of my clients, that's their biggest thing. They've got careers, they've got families, they've got partnerships and social circles. There's no time. And like you just said, if you spend, even if it's 5 minutes
Yeah.
a day, just filling up your own cup and doing something really beautiful for yourself, trust me, it will make a difference. It will certainly make a difference. So, well, thank you, Lorena, for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you, to chat with you. Oh my gosh, I'm just really excited for all the things that were shared here, and for the listener to really take on some of those for herself and start to implement some practices. And of course, reach out to either of us if you need support anytime, any day, please. And so have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for joining us on the I Come First podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're
you for having me.
welcome. We'll see you next time, everyone.